Welcome to Voices of the Valley, a captivating podcast series that brings together some of the brightest minds in the agriculture industry. Straight from the field to your living room, we explore the challenges, innovation, and triumphs in modern-day farming and provide insight for consumers who are curious about where their food comes from. Welcome to this episode of Voices of the Valley. I'm your host, Corey Lundy. In this episode, we're joined by Beth Sims, Manager of Health and Wellness for Western Growers, as we explore the powerful connection between the food we eat, provided by the farmers who grow our food, and our overall health and wellness. From fueling our bodies and preventing disease to supporting a balanced lifestyle, we'll explore how nutrient-rich crops play a crucial role in our well-being with insights from our health and wellness expert. We'll also dive into recent consumer trends and address intriguing questions like whether frozen veggies are as nutritious as fresh ones. Who knows, you might be surprised by the answers and walk away with fun facts to share at your next dinner table conversation. Let's take a listen.
I'm Michelle Rivera, and I'm joined this week by Beth Sims, Manager of Health and Wellness for Western Growers. We'll be talking about how what's on our plates, provided by the farmers who grow our food, shapes our wellness, fuels our bodies, and nurtures our minds. Thanks for joining us this week, Beth.
Thank you so much for asking me. I'm really looking forward to the conversation.
Absolutely. Now let's get into it. What are some recent trends you're seeing in health and wellness that are relevant to ag and the food industry?
You know, that is such a great question. In recent years, several trends in health and wellness have been closely influencing the ag and food industries. And specifically, these trends reflect changing consumer preferences, increasing awareness, and I know for me personally, a growing concern about food quality and nutrition. I absolutely love the let food be your medicine and holistic health approach. And more people are recognizing the role of food in disease prevention and really overall wellness. And, you know, the concept of food as medicine is really driving interest for so many people. I'm sure for you too, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a buzzword, food is medicine.
Yeah. And we can't forget about the transparency and clean labels. I mean, consumers are demanding foods with fewer artificial additives, preservatives, and colors. The clean label movement, really calls for transparency and ingredient list with a preference for whole, natural, and minimally processed foods. And in line with the clean label trend, there's a growing emphasis on minimally processed whole foods like whole grains, fresh vegetables and fruits, as well as minimally processed meats and dairies. And the trends I'm talking about are reflecting a shift toward more health-conscious people and food systems. And thankfully, growers are responding by evolving their practices, offering new products, embracing technologies that support wellness and nutrition. And me personally, I think the integration of wellness with ag is likely to continue growing. I really hope so, and really shaping the future of food for years to come.
That's great. Now, how do you see the relationship between sustainable farming practices and the public's interest in wellness evolving?
Well, I love wellness. It's what I studied in college. I've been doing this for years and years and years, and I love food, my two favorite things.
Who doesn't?
Right. But the relationship between sustainable farming practices and the public's interest in wellness is increasingly intertwined, and I personally think it's likely to continue evolving. But how I see it is, number one, consumer awareness and demand. And what I mean by that is, as more people connect the quality of their food with personal health, there's a rising demand for sustainably grown produce. I mean, people are seeking food that's healthy, and it's these qualities that are typically associated with sustainable farming. And I really believe that sustainable farming not only benefits personal wellness, but also contributes to broader public health. And as we know, wellness is such a buzzword nowadays, but it's this wellness movement that is continually driving interest in sustainable farming practices. And as consumers and growers see the benefit of this relationship, we can expect even more emphasis on healthy nutrition.
And what are some nutritional benefits of fresh produce that consumers might not be aware of?
I am so glad that you asked this question. I mean, we know that fresh produce is a powerhouse of nutritional benefits, but a lot of these, and many of which go beyond the basics of things like vitamins and minerals. Some of the lesser known advantages of eating fresh fruits and vegetables are absolutely incredible. And they're really healthy too and really yummy, but one of those benefits is phytonutrients for cell protection. Eating fruits and vegetables contain thousands of phytonutrients, and it's these nutrients that protect our cells from damage, reduce inflammation, and support immunity. For example, tomatoes are high in lycopene, which can help lower the risk of heart disease, while berries contain anthocyanins, which support brain health and help improve cognitive function. And fresh produce has higher antioxidant levels that have a multitude of gut health benefits from prebiotics. And fresh produce can improve blood flow from nitrates. For example, certain vegetables like beets and spinach and arugula contain natural nitrates that the body converts into nitric oxide. This is an amazing benefit that we can get from our food, and it's this compound that improves blood flow, which can enhance physical endurance, and can improve cardiovascular health, and potentially reduce blood pressure. And I love this. Studies increasingly show a certain correlation between the consumption of fresh produce and improved mood. Who doesn't want to be in a better mood?
Yeah.
And it's study after study is telling us that the antioxidants, fiber, and complex carbs in fruits and vegetables are linked to reduced symptoms of depression and anxiety.
Wow.
So the bottom line is incorporating a variety, and that's key, a variety of fresh produce on a daily basis ensures that you get a wide range of these benefits, often in ways that processed foods or even supplements can't replicate.
That's interesting. I know a lot of people who could probably use some fresh produce to pick up their moods.
Oh, absolutely.
Myself included.
There we go.
Perfect. Now, what kinds of things can farmers and food producers do to help educate the public on the health benefits of locally grown and organic foods?
Oh, I love this question. I really do. I think growers can play a crucial role in educating the public about health benefits of locally grown and organic foods by really sharing firsthand insights and creating learning opportunities and engaging with communities directly. I mean, think about it. Events like farm tours, inviting the public to a farm helps people see how food is grown, how it's harvested and processed. Farmers markets. I love a good farmers market. Community events, educational partnerships with schools and companies and grocery stores. Can't forget about social media, online content, and collaborating with health and wellness experts are all really good starts. And by implementing out-of-the-box thinking, growers really can build strong, informed connections with people that really foster and support public health.
Well, that's great. I've been actually hearing from a lot of people about farm tours and how eye-opening those can be and how enjoyable it can be. And especially even farmers markets too. People actually get excited about looking, touching, seeing all the different kinds of produce as opposed to just always going into that grocery store and picking out your produce. So yeah, I'm definitely seeing more of that and more joy out of picking up your food for the week.
So do you go to farmers markets?
I try to. Not as often as I should, but it's always a good time when I go.
Oh, I love them. Absolutely love them.
They're great. Are there any specific wellness resources that you believe could benefit the ag community in particular?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. I mean, wellness resources tailored for the ag community can be incredibly impactful given the unique challenges that growers face. I mean, some key areas and resources that can make a real difference are, of course, our internal health management program, but also mental health and stress management, physical health resources like having access to health care. I mean, really think about it, Michelle. Many rural areas have limited access to healthcare providers, so telehealth options and partnerships with local health providers can help bridge this gap. And then building community and peer support to help growers feel less isolated and foster a sense of community. Bringing this community together for wellness events, whether it be, let's say, a health-themed class or a health fair or simple social connections can improve both mental and physical health outcomes. And these kind of resources can go a long way in supporting the well-being of the ag community.
Yeah, absolutely. And now this is always one of my favorites. I love asking this question, but are there any myths about health and food production that you'd like to address?
There are so many myths, and you need to have me back for another podcast because I would love to have a whole, series on myths and food and wellness. But
absolutely.
I mean, there are several myths about health and food production, despite scientific research to the contrary. And one of them is organic foods are always healthier and more nutritious. And I mean, I do have to say, while organic farming uses fewer synthetic pesticides and focuses on natural growing practices, organic foods aren't always more nutritious than conventionally grown ones. Now, I do have to say, nutrient content varies more by the type of food, the soil quality, and how it's processed and stored rather than if it's grown organically or conventionally. I do have to say that organic practices can benefit the environment. They can be healthier, not always. But again, benefiting the environment is a strong reason people choose organic. Another myth I like to talk about is that natural foods are automatically healthy. I mean, let's think about it. Natural is often used as a marketing term without strict regulation. So I hate to say it, but it doesn't always guarantee health benefits. And foods labeled natural, and I say that in quote marks, can still contain added sugars and healthy fats and be really high in calories. For instance, natural food juices often contain as much sugar as soda pop, and it lacks fiber, making that a poor choice for regular consumption in large amounts. Mm-hmm. Another myth that might surprise people is that frozen vegetables are less nutritious than fresh vegetables. Frozen vegetables are often just as nutritious as fresh ones, and sometimes even more so because they're flash frozen shortly after harvesting, locking in those really important, beautiful nutrients.
That actually makes me feel really good because I definitely have some lazy nights, and I end up.
We all do.
Yeah,
we all do.
Yeah.
But think about it. I mean, fresh produce, especially if transported long distance, can lose nutrients over time. So think about that. So lazy or not, that's a good one to think about.
Good.
And then a myth I like to dispel is eating fat makes you fat. Think about that.
Yeah.
So fats are calorie dense, but they're essential for health and can actually help with appetite, making it easier to maintain a healthy weight. And I'm talking about healthy fats, not the trans fats, but healthy fats like in nuts and avocados and olive oil support brain health, hormone regulation, and vitamin absorption. So the real issue is overconsumption of any high calorie dense foods, especially when combined with low physical activity. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those are the ones I like to hit on.
Yeah. And actually what's interesting to me is I've heard this, and this could be a myth too, but a lot of those fat-free claims on the boxes, they're kind of deceiving because it's usually, it's better when you see sugar-free. Is that true?
It depends on the sugar. I don't like sugar. My motto in life is sugar's the devil's poison. I say that all the time. So yeah, I would much rather see a sugar-free than a fat-free. But again, it's the fats, the healthy fats that you want to focus on.
Right.
The trans fats, the saturated fats are really unhealthy for you.
Yeah.
But healthy fats, I've been known to take a drink of olive oil just to get the fats in for that day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Not tasty, but healthy.
Yeah. Very interesting. Okay. Now, how can consumers build a better understanding of where their food comes from and how it affects their health?
That is such a great question. Building a better understanding of where food comes from and its effects on health really involves multiple approaches to increase awareness about the food supply chain and nutrition. So some ways people can get started in learning is to read food labels. I always tell my clients, my patients, anybody I'm working with, understanding food labels is crucial. Consumers can look at the ingredient list to identify added sugars. Remember, we want to stay away from sugar. Avoid preservatives and other additives. But one of my favorite tips is to really encourage people to educate themselves on food's impact on their health and wellness. people really should study the roles of different nutrients and how they affect our health. Processed foods and ultra-processed foods often contain preservatives and additives that have a long-term health impact on their bodies and their minds for life. And understanding the difference between whole and processed foods and how additives may affect health can really support healthier choices. I mean, you talked about having the frozen vegetables. I think cooking at home really increases transparency since you control the ingredients. So that's a big one. Don't go out to eat unless it's a treat. And my hope is that people can develop a more holistic understanding of the food they eat and how it impacts their health. And that's what I do for a living, while also supporting practices that benefit the environment and society.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And now, for someone who's not really well-versed in nutrition and health and wellness, but they do want to make the step toward, changing their habits, what is just a really good way to start? Like, what's the starting point?
Honestly, a good starting point is working with someone.
Yeah.
I think working with someone that's in the business. I mean, everybody is so busy with what they're doing, whether, it be work or vocation or whatever, and sometimes it's really confusing. 1 minute you're reading.
It's overwhelming.
It is very overwhelming. And I've been doing this for longer than I like to even say, but work with someone and have them help you with that. I think that's a good thing. And honestly, if you look at ingredients I just talked about the ingredient list. Try to make it really short. Have like 5 or 7 natural ingredients as opposed to one that has 20 or 30 ingredients. Try to make them as small as possible and try to stay away from the processed foods. That is the best thing. And really stay away from fast food.
Yeah. It's a lot to take in. Easier said than done, always.
Yeah, and when you think about that, food can be such an emotional thing. I mean, we hear that term comfort food.
Yeah.
Because literally when you eat that comfort food, it makes you happy. It raises your serotonin, your dopamine for about 10 minutes. So it legitimately makes you happy. So you're always looking for that happiness, and it can become a habit. So habit change is hard.
Yeah, no, that's true. And a lot of people just sort of equate food with celebrations. Like, I just got a promotion. Let's go out to eat. Or, it's Friday night. Let's go out to eat.
Let's have a pizza.
Yeah. So I could see how those bad habits can get formed for sure. What emerging research or practices in health and wellness are you really excited about, particularly as they relate to ag?
Health and wellness are increasingly intersecting with the ag world in fascinating ways as more and more research on creating nutrient-rich foods that support human health. We've talked about it, and I'll say it forever, that, the food as medicine movement is expanding as healthcare systems begin to integrate nutrition into medical care. I mean, I have great friends, and I personally know doctors that encourage their patients to work directly with a nutritionist. And even, get this is exciting, some hospitals are partnering directly with farms to supply fresh produce prescriptions for the patients with diet-related chronic illnesses. And this is aiming to reduce the need for medications through better diets. So I think this approach encourages a holistic model of care that could reshape both ag and healthcare. And that's really exciting. And I know together there are new pathways for, agriculture to contribute to improved human health and well-being. I just know and it's pretty exciting to be in the business.
Absolutely. And in what ways do you think farmers can play even a larger role in the health and wellness movement?
I think, farmers is what we eat. They supply life. So farmers are in a unique position to drive the health and wellness movement because they provide the very foundation of a healthy diet, and that's fresh and nutritious food. And by promoting practices that prioritize nutritional quality, sustainability, and accessibility, growers can become powerful advocates for health and wellness. I love the concept of food as medicine, which I've talked about a lot today, and there are specific ways growers can play a larger role in this. The ag world can lead the way in a movement that prioritizes both the health of individuals and the planet. And that's quite the task. They have the potential not only to cultivate food, but to also cultivate wellness. And I truly believe that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this has been a lot of fun, Beth. Thanks for joining us this week. We're definitely going to have you back for more
I would love that.
Myths about health and food production, because I'm sure it's just a discussion that we can have, for hours on end.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I absolutely love talking about it. So thank you for asking me to be here.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's Voices of the Valley. Today's episode was produced by Michelle Rivera. We'd like to give a huge thanks to Beth Sims for joining us this week. In our next episode of Voices of the Valley, we'll be talking to Caitlin Paulus-Case, Executive Director of SEAG, and hear what they're doing to inspire local communities to have a deeper appreciation for agriculture and the hand and land that feed us. If you enjoyed this week's episode, please consider subscribing and leaving us a review. Find and follow us on X at our handle @Western Growers. You can also find us on Instagram at Western_growers. That wraps up this episode of Voices of the Valley. I'm Corey Lundy, signing off. Thanks for tuning in to Voices of the Valley, a Western Growers production. Produced by Corey Lundy, Ann Donahue, Michelle Rivera, Kara Timmons, and Julia Nellis. As always, we'd like to give a special shout out to our guest for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe to catch our future episodes, and we invite you to follow us on social media to continue the conversation.